The real estate sign went up at dawn, long before the neighbors chased the first coffee aroma across their lawns, and long before anyone in the Jensen family had reason to suspect their lives were already in free fall. A silver Jeep rolled up to the curb, idling like a patient predator. Inside, Alex Jensen, 25, jittery, one eye forever on the overdraft notice glowing inside his phone, watched the realtor he'd hired slip a fresh sold sticker over the larger for sale one. A chilly rush of triumph and terror flooded Alex's chest. He'd done it. The problem was over. Or, more accurately, a new problem was quietly detonating just below the surface, and he hadn't sensed the shockwave yet. Alex's pulse hammered as he imagined the balance that would soon appear in his clandestine offshore account. It wouldn't be enough to erase every debt he'd stacked up in 2 reckless years, but it would stop the calls, the threats, the looming specter of bodily harm. He told himself, over and over, that what he'd forged, what he'd hidden, what he'd stolen, was merely a temporary injustice. When things stabilized, he'd make it right. He'd buy his parents another house, a nicer one, the kind his mother always sketched in her recipe notebook whenever Sunday dinners drifted into wishful daydreaming. That distant promise, vague and shimmering, was enough for Alex to keep the pen moving the night he replicated his father's signature on the final transfer. His mother, Evelyn, had left only 3 weeks earlier for a volunteer medical mission overseas. She'd begged her husband, David, to come along, but the clinic couldn't spare 2 staff surgeons at once, so she went solo, trusting her grown son to house sit. David, thousands of miles away at a conference, trusted him too. That trust felt soft and suffocating on Alex's skin. He pushed it away, the way addicts swat at imaginary cobwebs. Now he stared out the windshield, afraid the house might vanish the instant he blinked. Its windows still hugged family memories. Christmas lights twinkling in January because they'd forgotten to take them down. The smudge on the top pane from where he'd pressed his forehead, trying to see if the snow would cancel school. The faint outline of the dog's nose prints. He assured himself no one would ever know he'd pulled the string that unraveled it all. Secrets, he thought, only exist if 2 people remember them, and no one else knew, except someone did. A sleek black sedan coasted to the curb behind him. The driver stepped out wearing an immaculately tailored suit and a mask, an ornate Venetian half-mask, pale silver with intricate flourishes, the sort sold in quiet boutiques tourists never find. Even from a distance, the mask looked unsettling against daylight. It suggested carnival mischief and concealed menace in equal measure. The realtor stiffened, glanced at Alex, then shuffled over to greet this enigmatic buyer. Every instinct told Alex to get out, to shake the buyer's hand, to hear the final confirmation. But instead he slunk lower, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles bleached. In the contract, he'd insisted on anonymity. The title company would handle everything. The buyer would wire the funds. Nobody needed to shake hands. He couldn't risk someone linking the transaction to him before he'd slipped every dollar out of reach. The realtor gestured toward the porch for a final walkthrough with the buyer. Alex exhaled shaky relief. Half a globe away, Evelyn Jensen zipped her suitcase shut in a cramped hostel and hurried toward a taxi bound for the airport. She'd cut her trip short the moment a whisper of suspicion reached her through a glitchy transatlantic call from her bank. Something about an address change, a pending wire, a polite inquiry the clerk assumed she'd requested. Her phone's roaming signal kept dropping, but she caught enough to know something was terribly wrong. She left without telling anyone she was coming. 30 hours later, a midnight rideshare deposited Evelyn 4 blocks from home so she could approach unnoticed. She threaded through half-lit streets, her coat hood shadowing tired eyes. A neighbor's front porch light brightened as motion sensors noticed her, then dimmed again. 2 houses away, she saw it, their lawn sign screaming sold. A primal ripple of disorientation buckled her knees. She dragged herself forward, shoes crunching on frost. In the window, she glimpsed Alex's silhouette drifting through the living room, phone to his ear. Her first impulse was to pound on the glass until it shattered. She stopped herself. She needed answers before confrontation. From the dark, she sent him a single text. "How's the house?" Inside, Alex saw the name Imo and Bloom on the screen, and a lavender pulse of terror shot through him. He lied. "Everything's great, just fixing dinner." The guilt tasted metallic. He debated blocking her. His reflection stared back in the black glass, eyes hollowed by secrets. He turned away. Evelyn hid in plain sight for 2 more days, checking hotels under a maiden alias, studying Alex's movements, meeting with a lawyer friend whose silence she could trust. Anger became strategy. She confirmed what she feared: forged documents, a cash sale, a payday large enough to paint betrayal in bold strokes. Yet one clause in the contract snagged her attention. A loophole. If she could become the buyer of record before the wire settled, a judge could freeze the funds and nullify the transfer. She would need to outbid herself, mask her identity, and sign faster than Alex's money could cross oceans. The masquerade mask arrived in a plain brown envelope. She'd ordered it rush delivery. It fit awkwardly, but it hit enough. She memorized a new voice, low, measured, almost bored, and practiced it until even she believed she was someone else. She arranged a private showing, claiming she represented an international foundation seeking properties for executive retreats. Cash offer, immediate close. The realtor, tempted by another fat commission, didn't pry. The day Evelyn walked through the doorway wearing that mask, Alex was supposed to be gone. But he'd come back for one last sweep, partly to be sure nothing incriminating remained, partly because some part of him couldn't stop saying goodbye. So when he heard footsteps, he ducked behind the kitchen island, heart thrashing. Through the cracked cabinetry, he saw her gloved hand brushing the banister, her height, her bearing. Something eerily familiar. He told himself it was coincidence. Evelyn's gaze traveled the rooms, soaking in echoes, each corner echoing a memory. First day of school photos. The water stain shaped like a map of Italy. They'd joked about repainting and never did. The floor vent where baby teeth disappeared during rambunctious games. She almost ripped the mask off right there. But numbers mattered. Timing mattered. Her attorney waited by the courthouse fax machine, ready. Downstairs, Alex edged toward the back door. The floorboard near the pantry betrayed him with its old dog whine creak. The masked woman whipped around. Alex froze, half lit by a slant of afternoon sun. His brain scrambled excuses. Handyman, realtor assistant. But when their eyes locked, something ancient and biological shot between them. Mother to son, recognition beyond reason. Evelyn steadied herself. Her pulse felt like a drumline. Under the mask, heat flushed her cheeks. She smothered the urge to weep, fib, scream. Instead, she nodded coolly, voice disguised. I didn't expect anyone else here. Alex forced a laugh that sounded diseased. Just checking utilities, he lied. The buyer nodded again and extended a gloved hand. Nice to meet you. They shook. Her grip trembled. He noticed. She withdrew first. Minutes later, documents slid from a briefcase, and Evelyn's alias signed faster than habit allowed. A cashier's check for a sum larger than Alex's sale price exchanged hands. The realtor's eyes glittered like slot machines. He was ready for retirement too. At the courthouse, the paperwork hit the clerk's desk, and the chain reaction began. Title freeze, bank alert, wire reversal. Across town, Alex sat outside the closing office refreshing his account, confusion blooming as pending funds went from processing to canceled. The phone lit with a call from the attorney he'd impersonated. Alex declined it, nausea coiling. That night, Evelyn finally walked through the front door unmasked. Alex was at the dining room table, head in hands, contract copies scattered like autumn leaves. The air between them crackled. She spoke first, voice steady now, no longer needing disguise. Did you think you could sell the past and outrun the future? Alex's shoulders shook. He lifted his face, red-rimmed eyes swimming. "Mom, I'm so sorry." Evelyn's throat tightened, but she kept going. "You sold memories that weren't yours to price. Your father carved our initials into that porch rail. You took that and handed it to strangers." Her voice broke on strangers. Alex reached forward, palms upward like a beggar seeking grace. "I'm drowning, Mom. I owe people you can't imagine. I thought if I fixed it quickly, no one would get hurt. Then I'd tell you. I swear I was going to tell you." She almost believed him. Almost. But the damage swirled around them in dust motes, moonlit and undeniable. She sat across, folded her hands. "I bought back this house today," she said, "because I refuse to let your shame be the deed holder. But consequences don't vanish because a mother loves her child. Tomorrow morning, we go to the police together. You will confess. You will make restitution. And when they weigh leniency, I will speak for you." Alex's eyes widened. Prison cliches stormed his imagination. "Mom, please." Evelyn raised a silencing palm. "Every choice has a receipt. You forged ours. Now sign yours." After a long beat, he nodded. Tears slipped. She reached out, touched his knuckles. Gentle, devastating, final. Sunrise painted the kitchen gold. They'd stayed there all night, drafting statements, gathering forged files. Alex confessed details she didn't know: loan sharks, crypto scams, poker rooms in abandoned warehouses. Each admission felt like pulling out a rotten tooth. Evelyn listened, sometimes wincing, sometimes stroking his arm when he choked on guilt. Dawn's softened edges. The house seemed to breathe again. Driving to the precinct, they passed the school Alex once attended. Kids spilled off buses, elastic with possibility. He remembered holding his mother's hand across that same street, sticky with popsicle melt. Now he clenched a manila envelope of evidence instead. Evelyn parked, engine ticking. Before they stepped out, she turned to him, eyes fierce yet warm. "Your worst moment doesn't define you," she said. "What you do after does." He swallowed, nodded. They walked inside. Weeks crawled. Courts convened. Headlines smoldered. Surgeon's son sells family home behind parents' backs. Public fascination peaked, then receded, replaced by new scandals. Alex entered a plea agreement. Probation, community service, mandatory counseling, partial restitution financed by garnished wages from the tech support job he'd secured. Every evening he returned to his parents' house, still legally in Evelyn's name. At first, stepping through the threshold felt like trespassing in a museum of his own betrayal. But slowly, hours of painting, repairing, sanding, hauling debris, penance disguised as renovation, stitched him back to the bones of the place. His father returned, devastation giving way to guarded forgiveness as he watched his son sand the porch rail where those carved initials still lived. Autumn arrived. Leaves turned copper. Alex finished restaining the deck, while Evelyn set 2 mugs of cider on the railing. They stood side by side, unspeaking. Wind chimes whispered overhead. Evelyn rasped, "I almost lost you and our home in one breath." Alex replied, "You saved both wearing a mask." She smiled, the first unburdened one in months. "I'd wear 1,000 masks to protect my family," she said. Alex wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "I'll spend my life showing you don't have to." Tears blurred the horizon. They let them fall. At night, he sometimes jolted awake, heart sprinting, certain he still stood on that precipice where greed and desperation meet. But then he'd hear the house breathe, radiators knocking, stairs settling, distant humming of the fridge, and remember it was still theirs. Not because he protected it, but because his mother refused to surrender it. He repaid every cent within 4 years, living frugally, working doubles, sending transfers the moment paychecks cleared. Each payment receipt Evelyn printed and slid into a clear binder labeled restoration. On the final payment day, she handed him the binder. Inside the back cover, tapped flat against cardboard, lay the Venetian mask. Alex traced its metallic swirls. A strange warmth unfurled in his chest. "What's this for?" he asked. Evelyn smiled softly. A reminder, she said, that truth wears no disguise. He nodded, throat tight, and placed the mask on the mantel, as both warning and testament. Today, countless families stroll past that house, unaware of the storm that once threatened to uproot it. They see fresh paint, bright windows, lush hydrangeas. If they glance close at the porch rail, they might catch the faint outline of initials, E+D, rescued from a reckless sale. And if dusk settles just right, they might glimpse a silver mask glinting inside, reflecting the glow of a family rebuilt on confession, consequence, and, above all, unmasked love.